Welcome to another episode of the Man Cave Chronicles.
Welcome to the party, pal!
You're my boy, Blue!
Yo, Adrian!
A podcast with interviews of amazing guests from the world of pop culture.
Oh, yeah!
TV.
Nice!
Movies.
Oh, I love the movies!
Comedy and more. From deep inside the Man Cave. Your host, Elias.
Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in to another episode. I am your host Elias. This week, I had the pleasure of talking to actor Joe Minoso. You've seen him on NBC's Chicago Fire as Joe Cruz. We talk about his career in the acting world, growing up in Chicago, and a few of the charities that he supports. Also, make sure you check out the new and improved website, www.themccpodcast.com, where you can find the latest news and archive episodes. And also, don't forget, you can find the podcast on Twitter and Instagram at the MCC Podcast, and on Facebook, just by searching the Man Cave Chronicles Podcast. Also, I would love to hear from you, so give me some feedback. The MCC Podcast at gmail.com. I would love to hear from you guys. Enjoy this week's episode. I had a great time talking to Joe. Joe, welcome to the cave.
Thank you so much for having me.
What's going on with you, man? What's new with you?
Oh, nothing much, my friend. You know, just trying to wrap up the season right now before with the holidays, and so I can get some much-needed rest.
Yeah, there you go. Are you all set with Christmas shopping?
I'm all done Christmas shopping, man. You know, it's like I do the thing where it's like I hear little clues here and there throughout the year, and I jump on that, and I get it, and then I hide it, so that when come this time of year, I'm not losing my mind.
There you go, man. There you go. So I want the listeners to get to know a little bit more about you. Where are you originally from?
I was born and raised in the Bronx, in New York City, and I was there all throughout high school, I was just north of the Bronx in Yonkers in high school, and then I went to college in Long Island, and then I went to a graduate program in Northern Illinois University, which is what kind of brought me out to the Midwest in the first place, which put me as a transplant in Chicago. And I've been here, ever since, pretty much. It's sort of been the city that's adopted me completely. Like, it won't let me go.
We'll talk about that, too. I read that online, but as a kid in New York, what were you into?
What was I into? Not much, man. I was a pretty shy kid. Like, until I found theater. I lived in a pretty rough neighborhood, and my mom was not much for letting me go out and hanging out with a bunch of people. So it was just kind of in our condo association. My aunt lived there, and I had a cousin who was about my age, and we would go and kind of play in his apartment where we had, I know it was totally stolen HBO. And we were, 10 or 11 years old and, watching, pirated HBO, which I think, Dream On was on back then.
Okay.
And that was, hugely controversial for us because I remember there was totally, I literally remember saying, oh, my God, boobs. And it was, transformative when I was watching that station. And I stayed inside most of the time. And then when I got to high school, my girlfriend at the time, which was a girlfriend for about 2 weeks, ended up taking me to go see her in a play that she was in. And I completely fell in love with it immediately, so much so that during the second act, I went up to the stagehands who were moving the stage scenery around, and I was like, do you guys need any help? Or is there something I can do? And they were like, yeah, we got it right now. And so I ended up becoming kind of a stagecraft or working behind the scenes and stuff until I finally auditioned for theater, and it just kind of grew from there.
Yeah. What made you go to Chicago for school and for to study acting?
Well, when I graduated from college, I participated in the UTCAs, which is these series of scholarship-based auditions that you can do for a bunch of different schools around the country. And I got noticed by Catherine Gately at Northern Illinois University. And my biggest thing was I really felt like when I had graduated college, I just felt like I was learning. I just felt like I was starting to learn and like how to learn. And so I decided that I needed to kind of continue that education, and I told her that specifically, and she kind of was drawn to that and brought me in, and it was really a transformative period for my career, or me as an artist, period. I really learned quite a few skills from her, and really learned to trust my art there. And that was what kind of brought me to Chicago and kept me here.
Yeah. Chicago's well known for the theater scene. What's the difference between, acting in New York and Chicago?
I wish that I could tell you. I came from New York. I came kind of straight out of school. I did very little attempting of acting in New York. I came straight from my undergraduate to my grad school, and then I went full steam ahead when I came to Chicago. And so I don't really know what the experience is like in New York. I really mostly I've had my experiences in auditioning be in Chicago, and they've been for the most part, really quite good. I mean, I there were hundreds that I didn't book, but there's just a real kind of community feeling here. I think it doesn't feel as cutthroat, it doesn't feel as competitive as the stories I've heard about auditioning in New York. But yeah, it's been mostly a family affair out here. Like, it's like, for the most part, you see the same 10, 15 guys, when you're going out for auditions, especially in a city that's small, when they're local people. And so you kind of become your own little community, and you kind of like, oh man, congratulations on that last one, and I'm going to get you on this one. And it's really kind of friendly back and forth. So my experiences here have been, for the most part, fantastic, but there hasn't been much auditioning as of lately. I've been pretty busy for the last couple of years.
Yeah. How, so do you like living in Chicago better than New York? Like, do you enjoy it more?
I do. I had I've always said I consider Chicago a much more manageable, cleaner New York. And so, yeah, I definitely have an affinity for Chicago. I think it's an incredible city, and it's beautifully maintained, and some of the most amazing food and culture exist here. And so, I'm thrilled to be able to be representing it on television.
Yeah. What are some of your favorite spots in Chicago?
Cool, man. How much time you got? There's so many, right? Like, food-wise, I could definitely recommend Bavette's is like my wife and I's like date spot. Like, that is one of our favorite steakhouses in the entire city. Prime and Provisions is another incredible place. There's this place, Mad Social, which is a great little kind of cocktail spot in the West Loop. There's Bar Cargo in the Gold Coast, which is like this amazing Roman-style pizza. And then, people, I'm sure you're going to ask me deep dish or that is in one place where I think New York wins out. I think New York is pizza. I consider Chicago pizza like deep dish. It's like quiche,
Yeah.
It's not pizza. So yeah, so I think New York pizza wins out, but in a lot of ways, Chicago pizza.
There you go. I have to ask, since you've been living there for so many years, who do you root for, White Sox or Cubs?
I'm a Cubbies guy. I wasn't much of I was a New York Yankees fan growing up, and I kind of got bored with baseball during that Yankee Renaissance. It just all became about kind of buying players, and then this new team here, the Cubbies, Theo Epstein kind of came in right around the same time the Chicago Fire started up. So it just we all kind of drew ourselves to the team, and they were just such a young, fun group of guys to watch. And so they've kind of drawn me back into the game. So I am a Cubbies fan.
Yeah. So you've been pretty busy. You've done, on your credits, I saw Man of Steel, Shameless, Prison Break, and everybody knows you as Joe Cruz from Chicago Fire. How did you get that role? Tell us about the audition.
Well, the audition was a self-tape. I had moved to Los Angeles after the giant snowmageddon of 2011, where Lakeshore Drive was completely closed down, and there was like a line of cars that I almost got stuck in. I was like, I can't do winters anymore. I'm leaving. I can't take it. And then I moved to Los Angeles after selling everything I owned and packing 2 bags. And 2 months later, I booked Chicago Fire, and it brought me right back. And it was a self-tape. I sent in a tape, and then they asked for another tape for a different character. And then I think I might have sent in a third submission. And then finally, I just went into the NBC studios, and I did it in front of Danielle Gelber. And they took a chance on me. At that point, the name of the character was Timothy Hayes. And I remember specifically that there was a scene where he was walking in wearing Beats headphones, listening to 99 Problems by Jay-Z. And so he's kind of shifted quite a bit since then. They ended up renaming him when I booked the role. But yeah, it was totally luck. I think they were trying to mix up the casting, and they really didn't know where to go. They knew they wanted to go with a local guy. At this point, Cruz wasn't he wasn't a main figure by any chance. He was definitely one of the tertiary characters. And they just kind of took a chance. And I mean, it's changed my life, literally. It's upended my life. Like, I'm a married man now because of the show. So it's been, a blessing.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about your character.
Well, Joe Cruz plays a member of Squad, which is a specific company in Firehouse 51 on Chicago Fire, obviously. He used to be the driver on truck, but in the last, it's been 4 years now. Wow. He's moved on to Squad, which is kind of an elite team that does specialty rescue involving like dives and copter rescue and rappelling and all that kind of stuff. But for the most part, I think he's just kind of a character who's born to like wear his heart on his sleeve. I think over the last kind of 7 years, what we've learned, or what I've learned, because this journey is for me, I think, almost as current and ongoing as it is for the audience, because every season you're learning something new that you would have never expected about your character. And so riding that growth has been, I think, my joy as an actor, and kind of seeing him develop. Oh, hello? Can you hear me?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. I'm sorry. I thought I lost you there for a second. But growing into that role has been like an ultimate joy, especially because you find the writers start writing things that seem to suit you. When you're writing for something that's this long form and it's so episodic and procedural, it's hard to kind of not start to kind of marry the character to the person. And as an actor, you almost kind of have to do it because you have to ride this train so long. And so it's been interesting, just kind of watching them take on to my humor more and bring out that side of the character. And I'm a big softie. I wear my heart on my sleeve, and I think for that reason, Cruz is very much so that way. And that's important to me as a Latinx male. I think it's important to be able to kind of show that it's all right to feel, because we so often get told the opposite of that when we were growing up, especially in my generation. How do
you prepare for a role like that? Playing a firefighter on TV. Like, did you go through like a training, or did you follow a fighter for a few days?
I mean, yes, all of the above. When we first got the job, they brought us through this kind of boot camp of firefighter training, where stuff that you don't do until like months into the program, they kind of just threw us into, which was insane. And that was just kind of about getting the idea of just really how scary it was. Like, I think what the thing that was most impactful during that training was when they put us in a hot box, which is basically this container, like a truck container, that they put dry hay in there, and they smoke up that room until you can't see anything. Wow. Unless you're 6 inches above the ground. And they put us in all the gear, and they kind of walked us through this space, and, a basic kind of thing that you're supposed to do as a firefighter, which is crawl through the floor in this mask where you can see nothing, within 2 to 3 inches of your face, and just feel around with your hands. And call out what you think things are. Like, and there was a bunk bed and like a dummy of a person and a baby and a couch, and then they make you go and sit on the couch and see who can kind of brave it out the longest. And that was a true test of, what we were in for. And ever since then, it's been a lot of on-the-job training. It's been a lot of, like, if it's a really involved stunt, then they'll obviously rehearse it a couple of days beforehand and get the leads in there to make sure that they have an understanding of the mechanics and whatever tools we're going to be using for that specific incident. But, at this point, 150 episodes in, we've done a lot of car crashes and we've done a lot of fires. And so there are a lot of things that kind of play over that are the same when you're dealing with those incidents. So we're able to just we're used to it at this point. A lot of it is muscle memory. We're comfortable with some of these tools. But we always have real firefighters who are there. Our technical advisor, Stephen Chikarotis, who is a god to us and an amazing human being. He's always on hand to make sure that we're safe and we're taken care of and that we're doing the things as best we possibly can to make it as real as we can, because we know we have a lot of fans out there who are real life firefighters, and we want to do right by them.
Do you do a lot of your stunts?
Yeah, I do. I mean, first of all, I am very, very proud of the fact that our special effects team, I think, is some of the best in all of television. And all that fire that you see on TV is very, very real. It's controlled, but it's very real. And we're in there, in that stuff, and it's hot, and our crew is in there, and they're in fire gear because they gotta be. Because it's that hot in there, and it's really, it definitely helps with the performance. It's a big rush, but it's exhausting, and those days are particularly long, and you can only really you can only shoot like 30 seconds at a time because the room gets so hot that you have to let it cool down before things start actually catching on fire. Yeah. So you're getting 30, 45 seconds at a time, and then you're waiting for 45 minutes.
Wow.
Or an hour. So it's a lot of... but it's still, incredible. Like there's sound of a moment where I was getting ready for a take where I had to open a door to a fully engulfed room, and this was early on, season 1 or 2. And I opened the door, and I just screamed, "I love my life" at the top of my lungs, because it was like we were in a major motion picture. It was, I could not believe the scale of it. We've since brought it down a little bit because we've got to be a little safer. But yeah, it's a tremendous experience. Every little boy's dream.
How exciting is it that your character, well, at least more than one character from your show, is able to do a crossover with the other Chicago shows like Chicago PD and Chicago Med?
How is it?
Like, how exciting is that you guys can cross over to different shows?
How exciting is it not? I like to call us the Marvel of television. I think we're very much so kind of doing that cinematic universe on TV that you see Marvel portray so well on film. And it's so seamless. You got to give a ton of credit to our writers and our producers who can figure out a way to make all that work, because it's no small feat doing a show, period, let alone 3 that live within the same universe where characters are bouncing around in all 3 shows at any given moment. And I think that they do it with, it's just the right touch. They know exactly when to involve people that they need to involve. They know exactly when to just kind of let the shows be their own. But it's like, for example, right now, like, I'm a fan, and so like I've been watching a lot of how Jay Halstead from PD is on Med like almost all the time now, because there's a really intricate story between him and his brother, played by Nick Gelfis. And so you're seeing a bunch of like Jesse Lee Soffer over on Med, and it's just so exciting because you almost kind of forget that, wait a minute, these are like 2 different characters from 2 different shows, and here they are just kind of coexisting without any real question. Yeah. And so, yeah, it's really, it's unbelievable. It's like a dream come true, Not many actors get to say that they play the same character over 3 hours on 3 different shows in the same night.
Do you have a favorite scene that your character was in?
Man, yes, different scenes for different years, for different things, for different moments. I just recently, just this last episode that aired, our winter finale, we got to do one of the most ambitious shots we've ever taken on. We did this really long oneer through this entire 30-car pileup on a highway, and it was about me kind of finding my girlfriend at the end of that. And on paper, I think it was like 11 pages or something like that, because It was all split up, and you were trying to kind of see, everybody doing their own thing. It was about kind of seeing what an all call really looks like, where it's like everyone is rushing out there and they're all kind of attacking whatever they can attack. And Reza, to his credit, our director, Reza Tabrizi, he came in and he was like, I want to try something. And Reza's always the one that's kind of pushing the envelope with what we can do, because the guy's a genius and he's got so many ideas. And we've finally gotten a Steadicam back onto our set. We haven't had one in quite some time, and we're using it more often. And it was just, an unbelievable learning experience, and so exciting to do as a performer, because you have to think on so many different levels. You're thinking about the moment and who you're interacting with, and what the trajectory of the scene is trying to say. And then you also have to think about, okay, well, I got to pause for 3 seconds here because he's about to turn the corner over here and they're going to want to catch my face on this particular line, and I got to do this turn. And so it was just really a really exciting, different pace to take on. And I hope we get to do more of it. It's really made me fall in love with Steadicam work.
Yeah. Where do you hope your character goes from here?
You know what? I don't know. I think he's finally kind of found somebody that America seems to have fallen in love with. Chloe has kind of become, I guess, Crowy is the ship name that they've decided for us. But she's wonderful, and working with Kristen Gutowski is fantastic. And she's busy working all sorts of places. So hopefully we'll be able to steal her back every once in a while. But I think the only way up from here is either advancement as a firefighter, so either moving into trying to become a lieutenant, or run his own rig, or the other side of that, which is family life.
Yeah.
I think we haven't seen a lot of a successful young couple trying to kind of navigate parenthood. I think we saw a little bit of that struggle try to happen with Dawson, but we haven't just kind of seen a simple kind of, which I think will be fun. I think that there'd be a lot of mileage in Cruz trying to handle fatherhood. So, maybe something like that.
Yeah. What's a one fun fact about you that you want the fans to know?
Oh gosh, you threw me for a loop there, brother. One fact about me that I would like people to know. God, I'm drawing a blank here. Anything. I recently bought a Peloton, and I'm really insanely obsessed with it. That's the first thing that comes to mind right now. But in general, I'm a Colombian, Dominican, New Yorican who got lucky enough to be cast on a show that has somehow managed to last over 150 episodes, and recognize just how insanely grateful I am for the opportunity.
It's not just luck, my man. You gotta have talent too. You got talent too.
I appreciate that, brother, and I'll take that. But there's a lot of talent out there in this world, especially in our field, and there's a million other guys out there who will be chomping at the bit. So I'm happy to have the place, and I'm happy to be able to tell the stories, and I love the guy that I play. So thank you for letting me continue to do it, and keep watching.
Yeah. And tell us a little bit about the charities that you support.
Right now, I think the most prominent one that I can tell you about is Shriners Hospitals for Kids, who is doing a Be Burn Aware campaign, which is basically about fire safety awareness over the holiday season. They're someone that I love working with on the holidays, one, because they're all about kids, and I've been to their hospitals, and the work that they do with, some of the rarest cancers that you see kids go through is unbelievable, and the atmosphere that they create for those kids is beyond exceptional. And it really does feel like a home, and those kids are just, they really look like they're still enjoying their childhood as much as possible, and I think that's amazing. And during the holiday season, they really try to get out there, especially since they work with so many burn patients, to kind of get people aware of fire safety and make sure that, they're doing the small things to make sure that their house is safe during the holiday season. Like checking your Christmas lights and making sure that you water your tree daily and not leaving any candles on when you leave a room. Like, they're simple things, but they go a long way. And as somebody who's working closely with firefighters, I can tell you how many of these moments that are so unfortunate and can be so deadly are just the event of I left on a candle, or my Christmas tree just sparked into flames. So, and beyond that, I do my best to work with organizations that are a part of working with families of first responders, like the 100 Club of Chicago here. I think that they're super important, and their main goal is to kind of help the families of those that have fallen in the line of service to the public, which I think, what a better way to give back as a member of the public than to help the families that have lost those that have died in service to that public. And then I, unfortunately, recently lost my mother to a battle with cancer. And cancer has always been, no, thank you. But it's just rampant. I mean, there's so many kinds. And it's just like, it's everywhere you look now, I feel like. So I try to do what I can. I do Cycle for Survival every year. And I try to get involved with anywhere and anytime that I can do what I can with breast cancer awareness. And I like working with anti-bullying. I mean, I do what I can, brother. You gotta, I got a modicum of a voice that I can use to kind of try and spread some good. So I'm going to do the best I can with it.
We have to be positive in these days.
It's the only way. The only way.
Lastly, Joe, how can the listeners find you on social media?
You can look for me on Instagram at Joe Minoso. You can also find me on Twitter at The Minoso. That's DAMINOSHOW, trademarked. And that's pretty much it. Those are my two kind of things. I'm not really on Facebook, so definitely come look for me on either Instagram or Twitter.
All right. Is there anything else you want to tell the listeners before we end this?
Gosh, thank you so much for having me on. Happy holidays to all out there. Happy Kwanzaa, Happy Hanukkah, Merry Christmas, Festivus for the rest of us. And thank you for giving me the opportunity to kind of just get my voice out there a little bit.
Thank you, Joe. This was fun.
Likewise, my friend.
All right.